Welcome to the At the Coalface podcast with your host, Jason Greenwood. This podcast is all about what it's really like in the trenches of digital and e-commerce. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the At the Coalface podcast with me, Jason Greenwood, your host. I have the pleasure of welcoming Lee Hardham from Brauz, B-R-A-U-Z, to the show today. Thank you, Lee, for joining us.
Thanks very much for having me. It's great to be on with you, Jason.
Awesome, mate. Look, we met, I think it's just coming up to, I think about 4 years ago now. We met in Newlyn in Auckland here. You were over here you had just started up Brauz. Brauz was not that old at that stage. I think it was really just a glimmer in your eye. Well, I mean, it wasn't brand new, but certainly it was really in growth mode at that stage. You'd kind of pivoted the platform plan a couple of times at that stage, because obviously you've been doing this for 8 years now with Brauz as a platform. You've got a background in business development, but yeah, you've been doing this for about 8 years. But I remember at that particular point in time, this was before you'd kind of settled on exactly how Brauz was ultimately going to end up. And obviously the platforms continue to evolve since then. And, you come from a media background, primarily a newspaper type background, business development with sales and marketing. And, you come from that really people orientated background. And you've been doing Brauz now for 8 years, right?
That's right. Yeah, amazing. I can't believe you remembered all of that. So we started off actually as a marketplace, and pivoted from that marketplace, and then spot on 4 years ago we had our first book to shop solution out in market, which was Reserve in Store. And before bookings became cool because of COVID, have grown the platform since then and evolved it out into in-store bookings as well as virtual video with our partnership with Zoom, which is really exciting. And then evolved the platform even more. We've got Connect Live out now, where staff can go in and toggle their availability to say that they're ready, and you can jump on a retailer's website, find a product you like, connect live, and talk to a staff member in store. And then pretty much where we're at now.
Awesome, mate. Now, if I remember rightly, you described this to me at the time, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is not click and collect, this is click and reserve. And at the time, I remember we were talking about this, and it was at the time, and I know you've gotten into other verticals, but it was really important. And let's just wind it back a little bit. This is clearly retail tech. It's converged retail tech that assists with the online, offline customer experience. You're a SaaS platform that helps brands to interface and meet customers where they are and give them a great customer experience. And you do that by facilitating that click and reserve and click and try on and click and experience type of model. Your system and your platform facilitates that. It's almost like a virtual sales platform. And then you've evolved that now to where you've taken that one step further, and you do facilitate click and collect now. And you've also got that click and remote browse now via that Zoom integration. So it really started out as a pretty simple product, and it's just grown, I guess, in terms of scale since we first spoke 4 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wish you could see the smile on my face as you've been going through and describing our product, because you did it perfectly, Jason. We started off and we had the click and reserve to try products on in store. And really, when we look at the platform, we look at us as being a contextual commerce platform, or we refer to it as commerce anywhere, really bridging that gap between online and in store. We've seen fantastic conversion rates for retailers using the platform from a click and reserve perspective, as well as now with virtual. But retailers adding that click and reserve feature to the website, we've seen them have instant organic uplift of about 20% online conversion. And they represent some phenomenal numbers for retailers. So, we know that when a customer reserves a product in store, it's a different customer to that customer that's clicking and collecting. So, you've got a customer who's committed to a purchase and they will click and collect, and retailers that have that click and collect feature are already capturing those customers. But I think the global average for convert to purchase is just under about 3% of total website traffic. And that leaves, 98% of your customers that are browsing as a retailer that you have a chance to place one of these contextual commerce experiences in front of. And that's really what retailers are capturing with, reserve in store and now with virtual as well, which is really exciting.
Makes sense. Now, one of the challenges that we discussed, and I remember this, we were discussing the fact that obviously you integrate with an e-commerce website, but because you effectively need to integrate with store stock because you're reserving that store stock as if it was purchased in store, even if it ultimately isn't purchased. And as your data shows, more often than not, it does ultimately get purchased if it gets reserved and someone comes in to try it on and check it out and get that concierge level of service. And now they can get that concierge level of service via Zoom,
Yes.
even during lockdowns. However, one of the challenges was, look, you need to get inventory of these stores from somewhere. And I'm guessing that typically that integration comes from an ERP, or if there's already an order management, like a distributed order management system in place, like a stock in store or something like that, you can get the individual store stock levels from there. And then you must have to push out almost as if this is a draft order for that product into those systems. So it's effectively reserved and taken out of inventory temporarily until either the customer buys it or chooses not to buy it, or to buy a different size or a different color or whatever at the time. So talk to me a little bit about, I guess, some of the technical complexity of, first of all, understanding what stores have in stock and then managing that through the workflow that you guys provide for both the customer and the store staff.
Yeah, for sure. So I think what's really, really important when we talk about this piece is, going back 4 years ago, we were young in the industry when we were working through this, and we've seen every single use case you can imagine. So some retailers have that stock API available, and they might be using a find stores feature like, say stock in store or somebody else, or they've got the inventory available, from their ERP, or some retailers don't have visibility on that stock at all. So what's really, really important is as a business and as a SaaS platform, we understand that retailers are on different levels of technical sophistication when it comes to their stock. And so, we need to be agile and able to consume that API so that we can basically, make sure that we're finding stock available in stores. And, now what's something that's really, really exciting is being able to route that to a store or a staff member virtually via a video call as well. So, when we look at it, I guess there's sort of two layers on it. One is the level of technical sophistication from a retailer and what they have available. The other piece of it that's really important to implementing technology like this for retailers is, as retailers have quite a big backlog of, projects that they're implementing themselves and what they want to get in. So getting something into that on a high layer of integration can be difficult if it's not on a top priority on a retailer's list. And so, from a Brauz perspective, we take all of those into consideration. And we've made it really, really easy. A retailer can jump on. If they've got that stock API available, we can connect them up. They can sign up to the Brauz platform, and we can have their script ready for them to put on the site, linked up to that API within an hour. If they don't have that API available and it is available via their ERP, we can use it the same way, and we can basically give them stock visibility. And then we've even had instances where we've had to basically host stock for retailers as well. So on that side of it, it doesn't matter what the sophistication of your retail business is. We have a solution for you on that end. There's, very, very, very few retailers that we can't help. On the other side of it, it's that part that you spoke about that sort of, full integration into, POS, creating draft orders and all of those bits and pieces. We provide all of the information that comes in, and we give retailers all of that data that they can integrate into their systems as they see fit. But the beauty about a reserve in store product is they actually don't need to. We've built in, a what we call a shadow inventory into our technology. So we do an inventory count anyway on every reservation that comes through. We recommend to retailers, for when they're doing those sort of reserve bookings and things like that, if they're going to take stock off the shelf, they only do it for 1 or 2 days, and then they put it back on the shelf if it's not a sale. So, a 2-day leeway from a product being off the shelf. If it sells, it's going to go into their POS and into their ERP anyway. And if it doesn't, it's going to be back on the shelves. So, it's really light touch for retailers to get involved. And, it takes away those barriers of entries that retailers face, I guess, or that we face.
Yeah, no, that's great. And so effectively what you do is you'll take the inventory that they're sending to you, and then when something is reserved, then effectively you'll decrement that in your system as if it's been sold until the outcome is lodged in your system by that store or that rep, whether the customer comes in and actually buys it, and therefore, you're going to get the updated inventory once the transaction actually goes through their POS at point of sale in store, or you're going to quote unquote put that back into inventory immediately in Brauz when the customer service rep says, hey, they never turned up, I'm returning this back to inventory, and therefore now we can update Brauz with the real inventory number that's being sent to you by our inventory management system, essentially.
Nailed it. So yeah, that's it. That's exactly right.
Oh, beauty, mate. Well, look, it sounds like you've tried to cover pretty much all the major use cases in market in the platform. Based on what I've seen on the website and what you've said, it's grown substantially, I guess, in functionality since those really early days of effectively click and reserve. It's now grown. It encompasses more use cases. It can cater for more retailers and more retail environments, different product verticals, and it can be adapted for many different things. Now, the other thing we're seeing in the market is an explosion in, I wouldn't say products that are exactly like yours, but sort of attacking this whole concept of how do we virtually support customers in the era of COVID in the most engaging way possible that gives us the best chance to give them amazing service and gives us the highest likelihood of actually being able to convert a browser into a customer. And so we've got platforms like Hero, which has obviously been bought by Klarna. We've got lots of other retail tech out there. We've even got Omnio out of Australia, which is a customer experience technology platform. We've got these other platforms that are all kind of attacking it from slightly different angles. How, when you started Brauz, did you come up with, I guess, this angle? Was it a pain point that you experienced personally in some way, or that you knew a specific retailer that had this challenge and said, hey, I think we can solve for this through really smart technology in our pivot? And then obviously that's helped to inform further road mapping of the technology, I'm guessing, between then and now.
When we first started, we built, I guess, this amazing marketplace that, would connect people in store, and it did all these different things. But if you can imagine 7 years ago, if talking about a marketplace that, remembered what you looked like, it could personalize your experience wherever you went through geofencing and, all of these crazy technologies, we're a little bit ahead of our time back then. But the biggest part about the technology, and, one of our biggest learnings, was we built the tech first and then we went to the market. And then once we spoke to, retailers, we got a lot of interest from it, but it was what we call a perceived interest and not a real interest. And so, that effectively the marketplace was failing, and we needed to pivot. And the simplest feature inside of the marketplace was the ability to reserve a product. And so, I remember back then we were talking to a bunch of different companies, and I was talking to a renowned buy now pay later company, and they said to me, a few words. They were like, two-sided marketplaces are really hard. We've never targeted a consumer in our life. All we do is put buttons on websites. And so I was like, okay, all right. And we were, effectively going through this period, and I said to the team, can we turn this feature into a button? Now we say it's just a button, but that button goes through to our in-store app that manages the experiences and different bits and pieces. But, effectively, we're putting a button on a website. And then, at that stage, I actually got a call from Forever New. It was just one of those weird things in the world where it just happened to line up right when we started to prepare the button. And at that time, it was Rachel Tiggle was working there. She's no longer there. But she asked if we had the reserve in store feature. And so I said, yes. Would you like to see it, and went in there, showed them the technology, and they were our first customer, still using it today and still seeing absolutely amazing results from it. That's sort of how it started from there. And then, what we did at Brauz and what we took under our philosophy was that, we didn't want to just build tech anymore. We wanted to build tech that actually worked. And so in our model and what we do, it's all based on performance for the retailers. So we KPI ourselves on the performance of the retailers and our solutions for those retailers. And what that means is we have to be engaging retailers, our customers, ones that aren't our customers, and learning from them to make sure that our product fits right, and then applying our expertise into it as well. I'll take it further down the line, and we're talking about video and virtual, and one of our customers is Q Clothing. Yep. And
so Shane Lenton very well.
Yeah. So as do we. Shane's now an advisor and investor in the company. And so I pitched to Shane about the reserve in store feature, and he was a little bit interested in it, but not enough to sort of pull the trigger. And then he gave me a call, and he tells his story way better than I do, but he gave me a buzz and said, "Hey, what do you think about doing virtual appointment? Because we'd be really interested." And with everything that was sort of going on, we're like, it makes sense. It's a natural evolution of the product. And then the rest is sort of history. We partnered with Zoom. And so Zoom's fully baked into our platform. And, we've got a bit of a philosophy where we like to work with the best in the retail industry. You mentioned Omnio earlier. We've got an integration into Omnio that's done already by the team, and we're building out our integrations with Zendesk at the moment as well. So it's really about applying what retailers want and making sure that those solution fits. And then on the other side of it, our team are fantastic at innovating. We've just released the first ever shopping cart inside of Zoom. I'm not sure if you've seen that one.
Yep. So, I saw that you guys made that announcement, and that's absolutely amazing. And so that's effectively embedded. I'm guessing you provide the shopping cart functionality, and effectively it's hosted, or the link is sent via Zoom.
So no, it's actually inside Zoom. So
wow.
Yeah, so we've got a vision for commerce anywhere and enabling commerce absolutely anyway. And so, when you jump into that Zoom screen, you've got a couple of little icons in there that you can click on. And we've actually built a shopping cart icon that's Brauz. And so, if it's a virtual appointment via our platform, customers can go on there, they can connect up, have a chat to, a retail professional. And then the retail staff member can actually click that icon inside of Zoom. They can prepare the cart, and then they hit the virtual checkout, which then sends an SMS to the customer with that link so that you can transact in the moment.
Wow. So they don't transact, like it wasn't like an SDK within Zoom or something like that recreated the shopping cart within the Zoom app itself. It effectively facilitates the SMS function so that they can then click. It's like a single click from an SMS to actually be redirected to the site with the cart ready to go to complete the transaction.
Exactly. And then already in Brauz, we've across our journey have managed things like click and collect and ship from store. And so built in Brauz IQ, which is the retail staff facing app that they use to launch the video, manage all their appointments, they receive those purchases inside there, and they're able to fulfill them, which is all connected back to SMS and email. So all the customer comms are all included in Brauz.
Wow. So you are effectively a distributed order management system as well, except for, I guess, where you begin and end really is with that reservation experience. Whereas I guess other distributed order management systems would begin and end with the, on the product page, hey, show me which stores have this, add it to my cart, go to checkout, select click and collect, and then they'll route that to the store for fulfillment via the store. So you kind of come at it from a slightly different vector, but there is an element of a distributed order management system built into Brauz.
Absolutely. So it's all managed in there. Then we've got, depending on how deep a retailer wants to go with the integration, we can have that integration fully embedded into their system so that it, everything syncs up in the back end and, post all their orders to whatever their e-com platform or their ERP is.
Well. And because you facilitate ship from store as well, does that mean you're integrated with something like Ship It and Starship It and their accounts with those carrier aggregators so that you can pull down the dispatch information and all that sort of stuff? Are you fully integrated with those systems as well?
We've got our integration sort of pipeline, and we've got good friends over there at ShipIt that we're working with. So definitely having those integrations is part of our roadmap and what we want to achieve. But they're not quite built yet. They don't need to be built just yet, but we definitely want them to be there.
So in other words, for the time being, a sales rep that executes a transaction remotely via Zoom, for example, and the customer says, "Hey, that's great. Don't send me a link. Just go ahead and execute the transaction, and away we go." Or they do execute the transaction via the link, which is effectively just approving that purchase that came as a result of that session, that support session, or that concierge type session. Then that can be routed directly back to that store, and then I guess they just grab the information out of Brauz. They can manually put that into their ShipIt or StarShipIt interface and ship it out that way. Because we're probably not talking massive volumes here, but we're probably talking ultra high conversion rates on the volumes that are done.
Yeah. So what we do know is if you have a virtual or video appointment or a video consultation, if you go and say populate a wish list or give them a link to a customer and then leave the session, we still see great conversion rates, but the uplift when you're actually able to convert them during the session is massive. So we're seeing retailers get up to 5 times AOV if they get them to convert during the session.
Wow. So that's the push, as opposed to, hey, here you go. I've prepared your cart for you. Away you go. Click on this thing and away you go. It's no, I'll wait on the call with you and make sure that you don't have any issues completing the transaction. And you can ask me any questions as you go through the process and effectively handhold right through to the point of conversion. Then that obviously is going to dramatically reduce friction and give them the confidence that they're making the right decision and prevents them from sort of getting distracted or a kid in the background or whatever the case may be. And it almost guarantees a conversion in that environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just like a customer coming in store, right? This is a customer it's actually probably a little bit more of a higher conversion rate to that customer coming in store because it's somebody who's given their time to be in that session with you. And so, what we know is this customer, when you do these calls from home, they're very much in their safe zone. So they're really comfortable. We know that, there's, it works for people, in regional areas and areas that normally don't have access to stores. It might be parents who, are normally taking young kids around with prams, and shopping in stores is a bit of a frustrating experience. Or, it could be even down to somebody, who's got a disability and doesn't like, necessarily going into a store. So there's so many segments that it opens up for retailers to work with. But really, you've got a customer in there who's committed and dedicated their time, and it's just like they were in store for you to, talk to them. They're ready to buy. It's really about helping them convert and get that transaction in the moment.
Makes absolute sense. And I'm guessing that because you've got such a comprehensive reporting suite, or maybe you can talk a little bit about the level of sort of visual analytics and reporting that the platform provides. I know it does provide quite a lot. I've obviously seen some of the screenshots from the website, and it looks pretty comprehensive. But I'm guessing that many brands will use this as a way of tracking and perhaps even incentivizing the performance of store staff as they interact with the customer by being able to track what number of appointments they convert into sales and how much revenue they drive and all the how long do they spend with each customer versus how much revenue do they drive per session, and all sorts of probably metrics, I'm guessing, around this to be able to sort of assess and incentivize and improve salesperson performance over time by being able to leverage the deep analytics that you provide via the platform. I'm just making that assumption.
Yeah, so you're right. We look to provide our retail customers a level of insight that can really help them grow the experience and maximize, their return on investment. So, providing numbers on number of appointments, number of conversions, order values, all of these things are tied back in not only on a overall figure, but also down to what we call, a user level. And so, they can see it on a store level, a user level, all the way up to the complete overview. We do some interesting things with our reporting as well, where we send out things like need action reports and different bits and pieces just to give management that level of confidence to make sure that their staff are on top of it, getting back to customers in time and doing all of that as well. So, we try to provide some really valuable insights to retailers. We also provide all of our data that we capture within the platform, via secure API feeds as well. So as a retailer, you might be looking for specific insights and have your own business intelligence tool. So they can just plug in our data into that. And then they can, consume that the way that they want to as well.
Great. So if they're running a Glue IO, or they're running some other, BI tool within the business, then they can just grab your data set, plumb it back into the rest of their business intelligence stack, and then present it holistically back to the business.
Absolutely.
Cool. And what were, I guess, it was very early days when we were first talking. What are some of the challenges that you faced between then and now? Obviously developing a product that is, in high demand, and, I'm guessing that this product becomes immensely sticky once it's in, because of the value that it brings to a retailer and the experience that they can provide to their customers by extension. So I'm guessing that your customer retention rate is ultra high. But what were some of the challenges, I guess, getting, customers on board with this concept to begin with, and developing the product out and extending the product? What were some of the major challenges that you had to overcome over the last few years to sort of get to where you are?
Yeah, so I guess probably the biggest challenge that we faced when we brought out Reserve in Store was that we got that out onto our first sort of handful of retailers and saw the phenomenal results that it brought through. And, one of the biggest questions that we even had back then was, will this consume your percentage of click and collect? Is it a click and collect customer that's going to be using Reserve in Store? And that was the biggest question that we had as a business and as a solution first. Once we worked out that that wasn't the case, and it was converting a new customer, a customer that wanted some help, they wanted to find that product, they wanted the convenience of knowing that it's there when they arrived, we saw what that metric was and that increase in conversion and what that represented as a return on investment for retailers. And we knew that we'd struck gold with the solution. Then when we went out to market, after we sort of debunked that myth that it didn't consume click and collect, that barrier still haunted us. And so, retailers put a lot of effort into things like click and collect to get it up and running. And then, when you're coming in and you're saying it's clicking reserve, there's a bit of fear involved that maybe it is going to eat away from their click and collect revenue. And that was probably the biggest barrier of entry for any retailer to take the leap. Over time, I think it's evolved. There's also the barrier, which comes up every now and then, where, a Reserve in Store solution and a Reserve in Store sale gets attributed to store staff, but click and collect will get attributed to e-com. And, sadly, there's, still this a little bit of politics within some retailers that, they've got to look at one P&L and the other one. And so there's a bit of hesitation that sort of comes from that. So, definitely the barriers are about debunking those myths and then working in right frameworks with retailers so that they can all share the success and ultimately grow the retailer. They were probably the biggest barriers that we sort of faced back then. Obviously, we also had, because we know that our platform performs for retailers, we had a purely performance-based platform, and we'd actually made it super easy and super flexible, which we're very proud of, for retailers to turn stores on and off and do things like even turn the solution off for a second for things like Black Friday. So we made it really flexible from an admin setting. When COVID hit and everything got locked down and we only had Reserve in Store in market and we're a performance-based platform, you can imagine what happened to all of our revenue, right?
Yep. It would have dried up pretty quickly.
Pretty quick. So, for us, it was a bit of a scary time, but at the same time, we always wanted to stay on the forefront, and we always wanted to innovate. So, we've made, I guess, our model a little bit more robust now. What's really exciting is now that we've got both solutions coexisting, still able to turn one on and one off as you see fit. So, what we see now is that retailers will be running, the in-store appointments as well as virtual appointments, if it somewhere needs to go into lockdown, they're able to turn off in store really, really simply and seamlessly. When, stores open back up, they're able to turn them on with the flick of a switch. It's just helped to evolve the product, I guess.
Yeah, well, I guess there's nothing like a bit of a trial by fire to continue to force you to innovate and level up your game. And yeah, I can totally understand how, the concern about cannibalization of click and collect. But I mean, you pretty early on proved that this was an incremental ad as opposed to an incremental cannibalization of click and collect. So pretty smart for you to, I guess, get a couple of retailers on board to take that punt with you, alongside you on the journey, to start generating and qualifying and quantifying that data that then you could use in further client engagements to justify what you were telling them and say, look, this is real world experience. These are the brands we've already got on the platform. We're not seeing cannibalization. Of course, there's always the chance of cannibalization. I don't think you can 100% say it never happens, but I think if you can show that you don't have a significant drop in click and collect revenue combined with incremental ad in terms of conversion and revenue from this channel, because I really look at what you guys do as almost a completely unique channel. That it is basically a channel in its own right. Sure, you could say it kind of is part of the online channel and part of the physical store channel, but it really is its own channel, and it I guess to a degree it's managed as such by the staff member in store, because they're managing it through your interface and your tooling and your technology. So it's pretty easy, I guess in hindsight, it's pretty easy to have the attribution model that allows your technology to make sense to a business. But to your point, I think the biggest concern is that now we've got yet another channel that perhaps has to be tracked from an attribution perspective. And for brands that are kind of a little bit more legacy in their thinking and have 5 different P&Ls in their business instead of just one, which is their retail P&L, and everybody contributes to it. I guess that then from an attribution perspective is a bit of a challenge for some businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. But, it's all of these considerations that we take into our platform now when we're building out our technology stack. So, as an example, like video and virtual as a channel, with that cart feature that we've got in there, we have the ability for them to basically attribute that back on a store level. So they've got all that data, and it's really up to them as a business how they want to spread that, how they want to attribute that. Do they want to look at that as a store sale? Do they want to look at it as online? Do they just want to look at it as a sale for video and virtual? They can actually do all 3 of those things now. So, I think it's important as a retail solution provider to understand that every retailer is different and they have different ways of working and different ways of reporting. And, we have to make sure that our platform fits in that. Doesn't matter what, level they're at or what, how their model is. We just need to make sure that we work with it so it makes it easy.
Yeah, totally. And I guess it just comes down to, as you say, meeting a merchant where they are, but also painting a picture of where they could be and how you can kind of help them get from point A to point B. And comes along with a need of some deep empathy, and how I guess, given the scale of growth that no doubt COVID has had on your business, I guess, well, first of all, speak to COVID's impact on your business. You've spoke about lockdowns a little bit and the need to pivot to a more virtual service, which you've obviously already done. You've built it into Zoom. I'd love to know what the decision-making process internally was like when you decided, hey, we're going to integrate with Zoom versus building our own video platform, like, say, Hero did and built their own technology platform. You decided, hey, we're going to integrate. And it's almost like, buy versus build type of scenario. But in your case, it was integrate instead of build. And what was the thinking behind that? And now how big is your team at this stage? And what's on the roadmap for Brauz?
Yeah, so, this decision for us, and it's one that we couldn't be happier with our integration into Zoom and the collaboration and partnership that we've got with that team. When we were looking at it, when we first launched the platform, we actually used WhatsApp to facilitate the video calls, and that's how we got into market really, really quickly. But we were looking at that journey and what was happening in there, and we really wanted to keep it in app, and we really wanted to have it embedded in our solution. We did look at multiple options, multiple providers, and even building it ourselves to see what the best solution was and what was going to be the best solution for customers and the end user, be that a shopper and your staff in store. Once we started talking to Zoom. We found Zoom and their growth. I don't think I really need to talk much about how successful Zoom has been. Given the climate and what's actually happened, but seeing that platform and what it did, and the quality that was there, that was really the decision point for us. So we were like, what is the best platform, what is the best solution that's going to deliver the ultimate customer experience for retailers and their shoppers? And from everything we looked at, it was having Zoom embedded in the platform. Then from there, we also looked at it from a point of they're growing and evolving their platform as well. Once we started talking to them, they gave us basically the keys to the city, and our team flew with it, and we're able to build out the integration into the platform, and as you know, the shopping cart, which we've spoken about. But we're also super excited to have partnered with Zoom, because they're doing innovating on their own and then bringing that innovation to us. So as an example, they've just purchased a company called Kites. I don't know. Have you heard of Kite and seen?
No, never heard of them. I'm surprised I haven't, actually.
Yeah. So what it is it's a live translation, and what that means is, so we've really got this, I guess, a belief of borderless shopping and a new age of borderless shopping, where you could go onto your favorite retailer's site that might be international. So it might be in Italy, or it might be in New York, or it could be absolutely anywhere. And you're able to go on their website, connect live to one of their staff members, or make an appointment, and then shop absolutely anywhere in the world. We're working with wearable technology, so it can be like you're actually there. And the innovation from Kites means that if I'm shopping in like Italy or France or absolutely anywhere, I can have that live translation while I'm in call, and I can have a great shopping experience. It's exciting innovation like that, which makes it the partnership for us perfect.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess you're effectively tapping into an entire ecosystem around Zoom, and as you say, with COVID, there has been basically a cottage industry that has sprung up around Zoom, and the need for really complex use cases around video conferencing. So makes absolute sense. And in that vein, what does I guess if we were to look at your customer base on just a pure percentage basis, what percentage of those merchants are based in Australia, New Zealand versus other countries internationally? Are you still pretty ANZ centric, or are you starting to take on clients all around the world now?
So we're pretty ANZ centric. So we've got Australia, New Zealand. We've got retail stores out in Canada at the moment, but largely our focus has been in Australia. But we are, looking to expand and looking to grow the business globally. Like retailers can join the platform from anywhere in the world, and they can self-on board, get themselves up and running, and basically place the code on their site within an hour. So, we see ourselves as a global platform, and definitely in the very, very near future, we're going to be looking to expand globally.
Such an exciting time for you guys. What, apart from global expansion, what is next for Brauz in terms of, I guess, I know you there's only so much you could say in terms of your product development pipeline, because I'm sure there's a lot of secret squirrel stuff happening there. But, what kind of, I guess, is your vision for Brauz over the next, say, 12 to 18 months? Where would you like Brauz to get to from a product perspective?
Well, I'll drop in there, just before product perspective, we're going to be entering our Series A round very soon. So, that's going to help stimulate a lot of the growth that we've spoken about. From a product perspective, there's some pretty exciting things in there. Like I mentioned it before, we've got this commerce anywhere vision. And so, very much we see a journey where you could go absolutely anywhere. And let's just say you walked into a department store, you saw an item you like, you could scan a QR code of the different items that are there, add them to your cart, and then connect live to a staff member who sees that cart that you've got. You can shop right then and there, all the way to, you could see an ad on TV with a product, and you can connect live from your TV, from your device, to a staff member, have that conversation and, do it from there. You can do it from social media. You can do it from absolutely anywhere. So, very much we're going to be feeding the fuel on the fire of our Commerce Anywhere vision and just helping connect more shoppers to retailers all over the world.
What an exciting vision. And final, we're coming down to the end of our time together, and I really do appreciate the time you spent with me, because it's been really exciting to sort of get the update on where Brauz is at and where it's headed. What do you see in terms, because for my business, I've pivoted very much to a B2B and a D2C focus out of that traditional sort of Me Too B2C retailer scenario. What do you see as the opportunity for B2B merchants to leverage Brauz? Or is this really, for the time being, it's really primarily focused on those B2C retailers and the verticals like fashion, where an interactive experience is almost required in some respects?
Yeah, so this is probably the most exciting part about the solution and what we're being exposed to at the moment, where we're getting interest from, not just retail, we're getting service providers and cross industries looking at us now for this solution. Even B2B, it can be for merchandising, absolutely anything. Anywhere that you need to make an appointment with somebody from a website and you need to engage with a person at the other end of that call, really that's the possibilities for us and where we can move to in terms of verticals. As a business right now, we're highly focused on retail, and that's where we've built all of our integrations and layers and have all of that framework within our business. But definitely there's applications, B2B through merchandising, or it can be absolutely anything, and as well as cross vertical.
Super exciting stuff, man. I'm totally stoked for you. This it's been a challenging road. I know it was difficult to make such a grand pivot, midway through your life cycle as a business, to say, hey, look, we're not going to have any sacred cows here. This isn't working. We're going to pivot. We're going to put we shoot sacred cows around here. And that must have been a hard, it's a hard decision, anyway. It's almost, to a degree, some people might say, hey, this is basically me admitting failure. But I guess, then there's this mantra of, hey, we'd rather fail fast and fail early and then pivot and then turn it into something wonderful on the backside of that actually does meet the market where it is and meets a real genuine market need as validated by the market itself, than continue trudging on down a path that is ultimately doomed anyway. And, like you said, you're probably a little bit ahead of your time. I mean, Australia now seems to be the most marketplace bloody country in the world. So, who knows, if you'd have been able to hang on a little bit longer, you might have been in with a shot. But, I'm really glad you did make that pivot, because at the end of the day, you ended up developing a technology that is really, really unique to you and definitely unique in this part of the world. So congratulations on all your successes. You bloody well deserve it. And, the way you pivoted again during COVID, I guess that's a small pivot in comparison to what you had to do in the beginning. So I guess anything less than that, of a full blow up the company type pivot, is going to be an easy thing to stare down in comparison, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And we say that it's an easy thing to stare down in comparison, but really, our team is absolutely phenomenal. And each time, from developers to our marketing to our advisors to our retail friends as well, we've got a lot of support as we go through, and we engage each of those people inside of our team to help us make these decisions as we move as a company. And we said a small pivot can, in comparison, it does look small, but at any given time, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of sacrifice by a lot of people to get them done. We couldn't be the company that we are right now without all the amazing people that work with us and help us. So, I feel privileged to be on this journey with absolutely everybody.
Totally. And you've had some rock star advisors, I guess, along the way in the e-com ecosystem across ANZ, and you obviously continue to impress and onboard new people into the business. So great leadership on your part, and congratulations on the Series A. Wish you every success with that. There seems to be cash awash in the market for anything related to e-com. So your timing probably couldn't be any better, to be honest. So look, I continue to wish you every ongoing success, and good luck with the Series A. I'm sure it'll be probably end up being oversubscribed. So congratulations on that in advance, because I know you're going to do well and you're going to continue to do good things. So congratulations, man. I think, I'm really, really impressed with what you've built. Building a product is not an easy thing to do. And, to build something that's had staying power and has continued to grow, and then really bridge that gap to getting to COVID, where basically that was the rocket ship for all of us in e-com. So congratulations on getting to where you are.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jason. And I'll tell you what, I cannot wait until we can catch up again face to face and have another beer, mate. So, yeah,
you and me both, brother. You and me both, brother.
Looking forward to it, mate.
Look, I tell you, the Retail Global in Queenstown just a couple of weeks ago got canceled the night that I arrived. So I had to turn around and jump back on a plane back to Auckland the next day. So it was a bit of a bugger. But definitely once we can catch up properly, I'm seriously looking forward to that, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you very much for having me be a part of the show, mate.
Absolutely. We'll talk again soon. Cheers, mate. Thanks for listening to the At the Coalface podcast. If you want more At the Coalface, you can subscribe to our premium e-commerce and digital newsletter, At the Coalface Digest.